All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about composite functions. Composite functions. And basically what this means is composite is just another way of saying composing functions. So when you compose a function, what you're doing is you're substituting in one function as an input for another function. So let's go ahead and look at an example. So let's say we're given the function f of x equals x squared plus 3x minus 2. And the function g of x is equal to the square root of x plus 2. To compose these functions, you can do it in one of two ways. You can either have f of g of x, or you can have g of f of x. What these are telling you is whatever this inside function is, so in this function it will be f of x, and this function it will be g of x, you want to substitute that inner function into the x value of your outer function, in this case g, in this case f. So if we work it out, it'll be a little bit easier to understand. So f of g of x, right? So remember, what is our outer function f really saying? All it's saying is, whatever input value you give me, I want you to square it, add 3 times that input value, and then subtract 2. So what this is it's saying anything squared plus 3 times anything minus 2 is what my new function will be. But in substitution of that anything, we're just going to plug in this entire g of x function. So we're just going to have g squared plus 3g minus 2. If we actually substitute in the g of x function, we're going to have the square root of x plus 2, quantity squared, so the entire thing squared, because remember we're squaring the entire g function here, plus 3 times that entire g function minus 2. If we go ahead and simplify this, the square root of the x plus 2 squared is just going to be x plus 2, because the square root of anything squared is just that anything that you plugged in. So we're just going to have x plus 2. And then we have a plus 3 square roots of x plus 2 minus 2. Simplifying this, we cancel out the 2's, and we get x plus 3 square roots of x plus 2. And this is going to be equal to f of g of x. You also see it written like f o g of x, but these two mean the same thing. They're just saying compose g inside of f. Now let's go ahead and find out g of f of x. So remember, what our function g is saying is any input you give me, I want you to square root the quantity, that something that you input, plus 2. So this is just going to be the square root of something plus 2, where that something is this inner function f of x. So we're just going to put an f there. And now if we compute this and substitute in, we have the square root of f of x is x squared plus 3x minus 2, and then we have a plus 2. And we want to square root this entire thing. These negative and positive 2's will cancel, and we're just left with the square root of x squared plus 3x. Let's go ahead and do another example. So let's say we have a function h of x we'll call 2x plus 7, and we have another function s of x that we call 1 over 2 square roots of x plus 2. Okay, and we want to find out what h of s of x is. So remember, all we're doing is wherever there's an x inside of our h function, we want to plug in the entire s of x function. So remember, h is just telling us 2 times something plus 7. And in this case, that something is going to be our function s. If we substitute it in, we're going to have 2 times this entire s of x function, so 1 over 2 square roots of x plus 2, and then we're going to add 7 to that whole thing. If we simplify this, these 2's will cancel out, so we're just going to be left with 1 over the square root of x plus 2, all added to 7. Okay? Now let's go ahead and find s of h of x. S of h of x. So in this case, all we're going to do is substitute in this h of x function wherever there's an x in our s of x function. So s of x is telling us 1 over 2 square roots of something plus 2. And we're plugging in this inner function h in for that something. So we have 1 over 2 square roots of h is 2x plus 7. So we're going to have 2x plus 7 plus 2. And this is going to simplify out to 1 over 2 square roots of 2x plus 9, because 7 plus 2 is 9. And this is going to be s of h of x. Notice, if you have a function a and b, a of b of x does not necessarily equal b of a of x. So if you find one composed function, you can't automatically find the other one by just saying it's the same thing. So you have to be careful about which function is on the outside and which function is on the inside in order to find the correct answer. And we're done.